Emily stood in the freezing rain with her little daughter asleep in her arms and a worn backpack hanging from one shoulder. Her lips trembled as she looked at the man locking up a small neighborhood diner. Barely louder than the falling rain, she whispered, "We have nowhere to go." The man looked at the frightened mother, then at the tired little girl holding a faded teddy bear. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he quietly smiled and replied, "You do now." Before we begin, if stories about kindness, hope, and second chances touch your heart, please take a moment to subscribe to Kindness Library, like this video, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us share more true-to-life stories that remind the world kindness still exists. Emily never imagined life could change so quickly. Just 3 months earlier, she had a small apartment, a steady job at a grocery store, and dreams of saving enough money to send her daughter Lily to a good school. Then everything fell apart. The grocery store closed without warning. Emily searched everywhere for work, but every interview ended the same way. They always chose someone else. Bills piled up. Rent went unpaid. Finally, the landlord gave her only 2 days to leave. She packed what little she owned into 2 bags and tried staying in cheap motels until every dollar disappeared. That rainy evening was their first night with nowhere to sleep. The diner owner, whose name was Daniel, had watched them standing outside for nearly 20 minutes before walking over. He noticed Emily trying to stay strong, even though she looked exhausted. Lily was fast asleep against her mother's shoulder, unaware of how uncertain tomorrow would be. Daniel unlocked the diner again. "Come inside," he said gently. Emily hesitated. "I don't have any money." "I didn't ask for any." Inside, the warmth wrapped around them like a blanket. Daniel poured hot chocolate for Lily and served Emily a bowl of homemade chicken soup. It was the first hot meal she had eaten in 2 days. Emily couldn't stop the tears. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Daniel shook his head. "Never apologize for needing help." As they talked, Daniel learned Emily had worked hard her entire life and had never asked anyone for anything. She wasn't looking for charity. She was looking for a chance. Daniel owned the diner with his late wife for more than 20 years. Since losing her to cancer, the building had felt painfully quiet. Helping people had always been her favorite thing. Looking at Emily reminded him of the promise he made beside his wife's hospital bed. Keep choosing kindness. He suddenly knew exactly what he had to do. Behind the diner was a small apartment once used by an employee. It had been empty for almost a year. "It isn't fancy," Daniel said, handing Emily a key. "But it's warm, safe, and yours until you get back on your feet." Emily stared at the key in disbelief. "You don't even know me." Daniel smiled. "I know enough." That night, for the first time in weeks, Emily and Lily slept peacefully. The next morning, Emily woke before sunrise and quietly cleaned the apartment from top to bottom. Then she walked into the diner and asked one simple question. "Can I work?" Daniel laughed softly. "I was hoping you'd ask." Emily began washing dishes, serving coffee, and cleaning tables. She worked harder than anyone Daniel had ever hired. Customers noticed. They saw how kindly she treated every person who walked through the door. She remembered regular customers' favorite meals. She gave lonely seniors someone to talk to. She always smiled at children. Soon people weren't just coming for breakfast. They were coming because Emily made them feel welcome. Business slowly improved. One afternoon, an elderly customer accidentally left his wallet behind. It contained nearly $4,000. Without opening it, Emily ran 3 blocks to return it. The man was stunned. "I thought honest people didn't exist anymore." He insisted on leaving a generous reward. Emily politely refused. "I've already been given more than enough kindness." The story spread through the neighborhood. Local newspapers wrote about the honest waitress who returned thousands of dollars. More customers filled the diner every week. A nearby business owner named Rachel read the article. She happened to be hiring an office manager.
After meeting Emily, she offered her the position immediately.
The salary was better than anything Emily had earned before. Emily hugged Daniel with tears in her eyes.
"I wouldn't be here without you," Daniel answered quietly. "No.
You got here because you never stopped trying."
Months passed. Emily rented a small apartment of her own. Lily started school with a bright pink backpack she proudly picked herself. Life finally felt normal again.
But Emily never forgot the night everything changed.
Every Friday evening she returned to Daniel's diner after work. Sometimes she helped serve customers.
Sometimes she paid for strangers' meals without telling them. Other times she simply sat with people who looked lonely. One snowy December night, another young mother walked into the diner carrying a frightened little boy.
She looked embarrassed. "I only have enough money for one meal." Before Daniel could speak, Emily stood. She remembered every painful moment from that rainy night. She quietly paid for dinner.
Then she leaned closer and smiled.
"If you need help, you're not alone."
Daniel watched the scene with tears in his eyes. His wife's words echoed in his heart once again.
Kindness never truly ends. It simply moves from one person to another.
Years later, people still talked about the little diner where strangers became family. No one remembered how many meals had been served. No one remembered the daily specials.
But everyone remembered how that place made them feel. Safe. Seen. Valued.
Sometimes the greatest miracle isn't $1 million or a dramatic rescue.
Sometimes it's a warm meal. A small apartment. A job. Or 5 simple words that change someone's future forever. You do now.
If Daniel had walked past Emily that rainy night, her story might have ended very differently. Instead, one act of compassion created countless others. A little girl grew up believing good people exist. A struggling mother found hope again. A lonely widower discovered purpose after heartbreaking loss. And an entire community became kinder because one person decided to care. The next time someone quietly whispers, "I have nowhere to go," remember that kindness doesn't always require wealth or power. Sometimes it only requires an open heart and the courage to say, "You're not alone." You may never know how deeply a single act of compassion can change someone's life, but every kind choice plants a seed of hope. And when hope is shared, it grows far beyond what we can ever imagine.
So wherever you are today, choose kindness.
It might be the reason someone believes tomorrow is worth facing.